Hey, White Sox fans. My name is Brett Ballantini, lucky enough to host a podcast you might have remembered as Sox Populi. We call it the mothership. Boy, this intro is going to sound very similar to Hannah. But yes, believe it or not, we still do mothership podcasts. It's been like, I don't know, months, weeks. Get out your sundial and figure out when the last one was, 193. In a normal season, we'd have blown past 200 podcasts, the 200 level during the season. But you know, between the number of podcasts we have from everyone else on our staff and the fact that, well, it's just been another rough season in spite of the second half, at least briefly having some positive fumes, there just hasn't been a ton to talk about. So apologies for the lack of mothership podcast, but we are here for 194 and may come right back at you soon with like a post-game podcast when loss number 100 comes. Note the confidence I'm using in saying that, but hey, the White Sox have their backs against the wall to avoid an unprecedented third straight 100-loss season. And after the break, I'm going to lay down some information that I've just been keeping quiet. There's a story on Southside Sox right now written by me that will also connect to my little tidbit of information after the break. But for now, I'm going to welcome in Dante Jones and Hannah Filippo, making this a tripod of terror on podcast number 194. We are talking about the White Sox and their march to 100 losses. And as the rare podcasts that are done, the typical topic and question to start things off, given the fact that the White Sox have played better in the second half, first half, 32-65, that's a 53 win pace. Second half, 26-33. We're really happy about the second half. That's still just a 71 win pace, but I guess just depending on whether you're a glass half full or empty, that's an 18 game improvement from first half. Or you could say, well, that's still just 71-91. Let's not act like we're a 500 team all of a sudden. But to both of you, Dante and Hannah, just a vibe check, gut check of where you are as a fan. Second half has been brighter. That's undeniable, but I don't know if a lot of that is, the White Sox sort of trying to push that on us because this is still a team that's going to lose 100 games. But where are you at as fans, first half to second half, or here as the season is about to finish?
Well, personally, I would say I lean towards optimism for once.
All
It's
right.
weird, but I'll be optimistic simply because they have shown enough that they have future pieces. Coach Montgomery could be a guy. He could be the all-star next year.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Smith seems solid. Davis Morton seems solid. And they've given me more positivity than the last 2 years because at least these young dudes doing good things. The only negative really is Luis Robert Jr. just his body doesn't exist. It sucks. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Also, I was there Friday night. Shout out to White Sox legend Jose Abreu.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the greatest departure, awkward, some frustration from him, a guy who like doesn't think twice about getting crazy and sliding on concrete in the dugout because he gets so excited and sprinting off the field, knowing that some of the guys around him didn't have that same enthusiasm. I could see why there was frustration and some bitterness, but really nice to hear that he sort of considers himself like a White Sox and, he's a guy. He's not a guy that necessarily won't. I mean, the departure might take him off of the statue list, but I mean, he's a guy who's definitely going to be held in high regard for all time by White Sox fans. Hannah, might be a familiar question, but where are you at this moment as a White Sox fan?
Yeah, I've said it once, I'll say it again. We've seen the floor and we've seen the ceiling. And the floor is ugly. I think everybody kind of expected that, especially in April, May. It was really not fun to watch any games. But end of July and August definitely showed their ceiling. Not to say that it's Yankees or Dodgers territory ceiling, but it's a decent ceiling for a team on a scrappy budget. I'll say that. So
Scrappy.
it's scrappy, is very lean, very skim.
You might be being nice at this point with them.
Scrappy.
I'm trying to
Like,
it sounds cute.
Yeah, it sounds like they just found the little pieces, which is something we did say
Yeah.
during the Rick Hahn era.
Yeah. It's like,
They weren't able to do that as often.
does a billionaire own this team, or is it just is it like the Green Bay Packer fan ownership or something? Yeah. But good point. A good point, Hannah. And Hannah and I are referring to the fact that we had a Phantom podcast. 194 actually was already in the books, except for the fact that the host decided to make himself not recorded for the podcast we did a few days ago. So it was out there in the ether, but we only really had about 8 minutes of a real podcast. So some of this is rehash for Hannah, so she's being very patient here. Hannah also on that Phantom Invisible podcast did come up with maybe, again, White Sox, this is free to use. Pocket schedule title, perhaps, for next year. Chicago White Sox 2026. Everybody has shown their floor. And that's something. We can laugh about that, but that's actually true. You've seen the worst of this team, and hopefully you've seen some of the worst of these players. Colson, I guess, continues to, by and large, put them over the fence. But, the slash numbers are weird. We're not complaining, but they're weird. So he hasn't exactly shown maybe his floor, but he certainly has very recently as like May. So, these guys have shown the good, and the bad. So hopefully that means 2026 is just going to be, not a winning season, but brighter. And maybe for a brief time, let's put it this way. We're not going to be like 5-25 at the end of April, hopefully. Knock on something, but yeah, exactly. Who the heck knows? Let's flip the question and talk. I don't want to immediately cut into, especially Dante, man, I want to ride this optimism, but I don't want to cut into that yet. But flip side, flags, concerns. Obviously, this team is still far away from competing, even in what is shaping up to be a god-awful AL Central. That's a little premature. Royals took a step back. Cleveland, I don't know what happened. They ate their Wheaties, but the division is going to be won very likely by a team maxing at 90 wins. It seems. That's not a good division, especially when it has the Twins and the White Sox in it. But that said, the White Sox still got some cracks. So what do you see? What are things that concern you, even as we're trying to ride some optimism into 2026?
Probably the lack of any decent pitching coming up from Charlotte is concerning. That's a big red flag. They dropped Dan Altavilla, who's one of the only pitchers that had below a 3 ERA as a reliever. And then other than that, there's Yoendris Gomez, who got promoted. Outside of those two, it just looks very bleak from a Charlotte pitching standpoint. I understand it's a pitching-friendly ballpark, though. So I'll give a little bit of grace, but there's only so much grace to give. So my main concern is them pulling together with Jonathan Cannon kind of falling apart towards the second half and losing and Martin Perez having injury issues. My main concern will be the bullpen first, and then the pulling together a decent enough starting rotation that isn't going to get tired by August.
Yeah, I'll jump in before Dante because I'll make just a similar point. And the scary thing, Hannah, is you're right. You're right to point out certainly for 2025 what the system yielded, but there's at least potential arms. Shane Murphy and Tanner McDougal, Noah Schultz. If that knee heals, whatever. Hagen Smith maybe is going to come out of nowhere. There's names you can at least throw out there. And it's great that a lot of those bats have matriculated from Charlotte and they're doing it on the south side now. So you could say, well, okay, they don't complain about the lack of hitters or any reinforcement for 2026, Brett, but there are no reinforcements coming. Braden Montgomery, maybe, and I don't think he's going to be, definitely not ready first half next year, if even second half. And even that's one guy who will probably have a limited impact. So you want to say the pitching cupboard might look a little bare, or it's scary to think about what there's going to be in 2026. The hitting, we already know. Now, a lot of those guys are already on the team, but the White Sox need more than that, and they're not going to get it offensively. They're just nobody's jumping from like single. Caleb Bonham is not going to be in the majors next year. I don't think that's a challenge, Caleb. Dig deep, come on. But I just want to throw that in there because it was very related to the fact that the pitching. I mean, I think we could say, we could agree, Hannah, don't count on Charlotte. So what you see is what you get. And that's frightening because this is at best, a 71 win team, the way they're playing here in a very small sample of the second half. Because, second half is shorter than the first half. It's not 81 games. Okay, Dante, I'll stop talking. Things that are concerning you beyond our long dissertation about the AAA Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm in the same with pitching. I don't think that that's going to be useful anytime soon because we don't have anybody from Charlotte that I trust and believe in to be good next year. Schultz, if he comes up, I don't want to give a rookie picture. I want them to develop more. Same thing with Smith. Now, the hitting, this is like on both sides of the ball, we're going to need to get reinforcements. We need to get not reinforcements from Charlotte, but we need to get reinforcements from around the majors. They need to sign a free agent, like on both ends. I don't expect them to do more than that, but one inning eater. Like Mike Soroka, that was his job. That was supposed to be his job. Eat innings.
Yeah.
And then bats wise, when will we get rid of the black hole in left field?
Well, he's owed an awful lot of money.
That's cool. There ain't no salary cap in baseball. Go ahead.
No,
and
there isn't. That's just it. I mean,
he's I'll put it like this. He's owed a lot of money for the White Sox. For a lot of other teams, that's nothing.
And the crazy thing, Dante? Okay, cut him. Don't say, hey, listen, man, we can only spend $50 million. You cut him, we can't do anything. Okay, don't. Just get him off the team. I mean, we'd rather replace it with a real player, but no. Okay, Corey Jolson left field. Okay, he's supposed to be a replacement player. I mean, there's something about running him out there that's just offensive.
Yeah, because I have to see him play bad defense in left field for 100+ games a season. Like, I was able to watch most of it on TV thanks to, streaming and all that stuff, the usual. But what I've been able to watch between going to plenty of games because it's $5 to $10 tickets and other things like that. Andrew Benintendi does not need to be a White Sox next season. I'm sad that he probably will be.
Yeah. Yeah, the real question is how much of the contract is he going to fulfill? And I would say the smart money would have to be the whole thing. I mean, maybe they'll do a token. Okay, we'll waive you in September of your last year, but unfortunately, we got way too much.
I was saying we have 2 years left, 3 years.
Yep, I think it's just 2. I think 2027 he's done. I think. I mean, just be wishful thinking.
I can deal with that. And maybe he starts off good next year. You can trick a contender into taking him at
did we say that this year?
I'm going to say it every year until he's off my baseball team, Brett.
Yeah. Have a really good Cactus League, Andrew, please.
Yeah, we need him to do something great. He can even be like a little like salary dump part of a trade and we get a bunch of like pointless prospects. I don't care at this point.
Yeah. Get like 5 DSL guys. Cool.
Yeah. They can provide.
Let's do a reverse Tatis. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. I'm going to hit you with the factoid that's going to make you unhappy, and then maybe we can spend the remainder of the podcast trying to cheer each other up or just get angrier. I don't know. Maybe there'll be cussing. Who's to say? Let's take a break. I promise, I haven't stopped recording. This podcast, I think it's going to make it to the finish line. Believe it or not. Not many have been shelved. There's been like a handful in the past. And a couple times I've talked to people like who decided to do a podcast with me as a guest, like at a bar. That doesn't really work out. Sort of hard to hear. But we haven't scrapped too many podcasts. Last one was, I think this one is going to make it to the finish line. Stick with us to the finish line, and we'll be back for a second half in just a minute. Hello, White Sox fans. My name is Brett Ballantini. Lucky enough, dearly lucky, to be able to host a podcast called, we just called it Mothership. It's Sox Populi. We write at Southside Sox and Sox Populi. We podcast under the Fans First Sports Network umbrella, and we're happy you're here with us as we usher in the final week of the season. White Sox staring a third straight 100-loss season right in the face. 2 losses will allow them to hit the century mark and going into New York. And even though 3 of those games are against the Nationals, it's on the road. So I'm going to say that is a guarantee we are going to hit 100. And is it unprecedented? Well, sure it is. It was unprecedented that they had 2 straight 100-loss seasons. So yes, it's definitely uncharted territory, a 3rd straight. And somewhat on that note, because I'm an idiot, or because I like to go down weird research rabbit holes, you can scoot over. Finish listening to this podcast first. What are you scooting on anything? Just focus on this podcast and listen to it. But scoot over to Southside Sox. There's an article up today by someone here. Yes, it's me. Addressing the fact, the title is, listen, 100 losses or no, the White Sox have still achieved some infamy this year. And that is, I wanted to see what this era, as it were, which is basically these 3 terrible years, these 300 losses. Because one thing to say, oh, no team's ever lost 100 games in a row 3 times, or I don't know, some terrible team lost 107 seasons in a row, whatever. Let's see how it compares, just any era, because you can't really, before 1961, you can't really compare, 61, 62, you can't compare seasons because those are shorter seasons, and there were some god-awful teams in the past. So just taking 3 seasons worth of games in today's era, that's 486 games. So just trying to take that frame and seeing what the worst 486 game stretches were in Major League history. And to not belabor this point, but the White Sox have already got themselves almost on the top 10 of that list. They have the 11th worst, if you want to call it era. I'm calling it era because I don't know what else to call it. So we're talking about at least 3 seasons. I guess in the old days it'd be 3 and change. But for some teams, there have been some terrible eras. Some teams are like 7, 8 seasons where they were just god awful and they were losing close to 100 routinely. White Sox are tied for the 11th worst era in Major League history. They've lost as of from September 2022, because that wasn't a great end of the season, to August and September of this season. They've lost 323 games. That is 11th worst in Major League history. And the scary thing is they may still break that. They may move up the list just a little bit. They may take over 10th place alone, because it depends on how these last 6 games go, because they are at 320 losses from opening day 2023 to the end of this season. They've already got 320 on the tab. They lose another 3, they're gonna tie earlier in the season. They lose 4, they're gonna break the record, or their own record that they already set. It's sickening. It's disgusting. I hated looking up. It makes me sick. I want to leave this podcast. Why am I podcasting about the White Sox? They're a god-awful team with the 11th worst era ever. And it's sickening to think that like the Cubs aren't ahead of them anywhere. But anyhow, that ship sails, because now we're just as lousy. We're almost as amoral as that team. So there's really not much you can pick on the Cubs for anymore. Well, we'll still find some things. Just wait till Crosstown next year. Anyhow, that was my dumb tidbit. Sorry to take up so much time because the clock is ticking. But let's steer toward next year, and realistically, in both of your eyes, what do we think this team's going to do? This can involve Will Venable, who, as a manager, I'm not unhappy with. I'm not sure I'm too impressed. I think the best thing he's done, which I guess is the best thing any manager can do, is sort of stay out of the way, meaning didn't manufacture any controversies, didn't pour gasoline on fires like every manager the White Sox have ever had, or certainly the last couple. But this can, speak to the fact that the pitching is a little weak going into the season. How are we going to fill the rotation, even from opening day when everybody is technically supposed to be healthy, or hitting gaps? What concerns you, or what has got you excited and thinking, hey, we're going to be a surprise contender next year? What's the mindset as we're looking at March 2026? It is an essay question.
All right, I'm not the best at essays, even though I'm a writer and all that stuff. But I will say what has me concerned is we have an entire 2026 season, and then we have the 2027 season, in which we don't know when it will happen because there's a CBA that's coming up, and Rob Manfred sounds like we're going to have a lockout in 2027. So I'm going to do my best to enjoy what I can from 2026.
Yeah.
And also, I'm going to be able to laugh at the Cubs after they blow it in the playoffs this year and then find a way to mess up next year.
See, that's a great way to wedge in some Cubs hate because I mean the vibes are immaculate over there. They got to be
Listen, I
so
can't
killer on the north
say,
side.
yeah, definitely killer over there. I can't say what I want to say, but man,
Well, you
man.
can if you want. You know, listen, if a couple people shut it off, you know, whatever. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, we get where you're at. I can't imagine there's a lot of cohesion in that clubhouse. But then,
Man, you know, I don't think there's a lot of cohesion when you're flying to Arizona when you're trying to secure space. That's just my opinion. That's my
you're a
opinion.
rookie, Dante. You're a
Yeah, rookie.
rookie.
Rookies are able to do whatever they want now in the year of our Lord 2025. I guess this is the council. I guess this is the thing they was trying to talk about us being soft, the younger generation.
Yeah. Rookies can do whatever they want in the year of our Lord 2025 when your ideology aligns directly with the guy signing your checks. I would say that is
Yep.
definitely true. Oh, what a disgusting organization. Yes, I will be looking forward to that too. And I like the fact that at the moment they're in a bracket that has them. I mean, I don't know what's going to change, man. Can they actually like fall out of the playoffs because nobody seems to care?
No, so here's the
That
thing.
would,
They're staying in. They're probably gonna face either the Dodgers or the Padres.
Mhm. And then if they move on, I think the last I saw, Brewers would be their next matchup, and I
Yeah.
will relish seeing that. A lot of good plots there. I mean, this is a White
hmm
Sox podcast, but you know, crapping on the Cubs. I mean, that can be the second half of this podcast.
Listen,
And
as much as I love my dad, as much as I love the many black players in the history of Cubs, a friend of mine said it best. There is not enough. Let's just call it what it is. There's not enough diversity over there for them
Mhm,
to have good ideas when it comes to societal views.
mhm.
That being said, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't go to Wrigley if someone handed me a playoff ticket.
All right.
I would
Well,
just have to
you can
wear.
boo. I mean,
I just have to wear either my Padres shirt or
yeah,
my Jackie Robinson
you
shirt.
got to stand up for the opposition. Yeah. I mean, you know, could be down. Could be dangerous. They're crazy over there. But you know, then again, I don't know. Are they looking up from their phones? Are they just taking selfies? I don't even know. So, Cubs fans, we don't love you. Anyhow, Hannah, you have sort of a vested interest in this. Not that you need to weigh in on Cubs and Brewers, etc. But your thoughts on just as I mean, I guess we addressed it a little bit in the first half, but you know, as you're knowing knowing this scrappy budget, you know, isn't going to be. I mean, what we're going to get another Tachman, maybe, you know, whatever. I mean, there's not going to be anything brought in, and maybe we'll get a surprise, like you know, Aaron Savali comes back as you suggested in the Phantom podcast, and you know, maybe actually performs a little better, or Martin Perez somehow stays alive for 20 starts and contributes in 2026. But you know, knowing the limitations, again, as you're anticipating sitting down for opening day, what do you think you're going to be feeling? And is there real reason for optimism, or is this been sort of a smokescreen, this second half bump?
I think the main thing I'll be looking for, and it's not only on Venable, of course, but it's player development.
Hmm.
So I don't suspect they will be up in the first half, but I do suspect Hagen Smith will get some reps in the second half at least. I do expect Tim Elko to be brought back up at some point, and for to see him improve and become a more consistent hitter would be a nice thing to see. So that's really what my eye will be on because, and also seeing how Colson and Hero
Yeah.
and Mydruff progress next year. There's expected to be a little bit of sophomore slumpage maybe, since they already had such a strong rookie year in terms of consistency. But the development is really what my eye will be on before 2027, where it's actually more realistic for them to spend as much as spending, I say realistically well, but I don't see
Yeah.
them spending as much in the offseason this year. Maybe next year will be, or 2026 offseason will be a more realistic opportunity for them to spend once they see the development.
The White Sox rolled the dice by bringing Colson up. He had like 3 unbelievable games. He had a very difficult season as a whole. I mean, you can't get worse really than being sent to Arizona to retool yourself on any level. mentally, physically, mechanics. So I mean, credit to him for. I mean, this is a mere. None of us could have predicted close to what he's done. And my question is the fact that the White Sox sort of, and I mean, obviously they've got the data and the charts, and that, you know, something was telling them this wasn't, as much as we were like, what in the world are they doing? I don't care if it's Colorado. Why is he in the major leagues? How about like show it for a week before you do that? You know, they knew, I guess they had a hunch for something, and that gamble paid off. Knowing that there are guys, as you just referred to, Hagen Smith likely being up at some point. Grant Taylor made he bum rushed the major leagues. A guy who might, you know, shift to the rotation next year, but he's getting that sort of, he's doing the Chris Sale, he's doing the Garrett Crochet, you know, sort of just marinate a little bit in the bullpen, get a vibe going for the, you know, for the majors, and then, okay, hey, you think you can take on more? Take on more, buddy. So you could see Noah Schultz, you could see Hagen Smith, things go even close to right. I mean, you have to now say close to right, because things weren't going right for Colson Montgomery. He's in the major leagues, and he didn't drown. Does that make the White Sox more likely to take those gambles? And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it is more likely for them to take those risks, and I think it's a good thing because we've been seeing a trend in baseball where again, people called up right out of, like, right after they got drafted. They get drafted in 2024 and they're up in 2024. So in 2023, seeing in 2025 as well. Now, when we first saw there was Andrew Vaughn, and you know, the less I say about Andrew Vaughn, the better. But also, I mean, Ben Joyce in Anaheim / Los Angeles, that type of thing. That's nice to see. We could see something like that maybe with a Braden Montgomery, and he comes up shockingly fast. Now, I wouldn't expect it, but it would be nice to see. I see it more on the picture, and like Noah will, like you said, Noah will probably be up at some point. Hagen will probably be up at some point. As much as I like to give people time to develop, you also give them time to develop against big leaguers on a bad roster.
Yeah. And especially with the pitchers, I mean, you're not going to just like pinch hit a position player, but for the pitchers to know that you can sort of hold their hands and say, all right, you know, just take an inning out of the pen, maybe just observe, maybe get a list, maybe be an opener. We're not going to expect any more an inning out of you. There's a lot of flexibility there that you might not have with a position player. And as dangerous it is to like ruin a prospect by rushing them or, you know, whatever. The game has changed a little bit, and let's face it. I mean, we had the conversation about Andrew Benintendi, but I mean, not like there was a lot of stuff blocking some of these guys, and that's not an excuse to throw them into the deep end and hope they don't drown. But I mean, there's no blocking, and they're not going to like go out and get free agents to block anybody. Nobody's going to get blocked on this team. That may be for years. There may be no blocking for the rest of the decade. So, I mean, there is a clear path for some of these blue chippers, and, you know, it's not necessarily, okay, let's see if you drown or not. But, you know, at some point, it's like, you know, the point of you being in this organization is to participate in wins at the major league level. So go for it. Hannah, what do you think in terms of the likelihood they do this more? And again, whether it's a good thing, you know, as Dante and I both speculated on.
With Venable at the helm, I think it's more likely. I also see Rich Getz trying to kind of like weirdly redeem himself from having a poor or an unsuccessful career in Kansas City as a farm director. I see it more as a weird redemption story, so trying to prove that he actually had some talent hidden under there that you couldn't see before, but now as a general manager, he can finally whip out and impress people. So I do see more risk being taken, and at this point, I want to see personality. I want to see something interesting happen, even if it costs them a few games. It's not that consequential in the grand scheme of things. I'd rather something interesting than follow a script and play it safe, and then if it doesn't work out and you take the risk, that's more favorable than playing it safe and it not going well.
Yeah. All right, you heard it here very early, way early before the 2026 season. Hannah Filippo has predicted Chris Getz's Christmas morning dream of fielding 9 shortstops, more than 7. He probably is already fielding 7 shortstops. All 9 positions filled by shortstops. That is his dream, because of course shortstops are the only real position in baseball, says Chris Getz. And listen, that's not stupid at all. Keep drafting shortstops. You can move them around. First basemen who are shorter than 6 feet tall, or
Yeah, like let's keep doing this with shortstops. I like it with shortstops.
yeah.
You know, Costa's gonna be a third baseman at some point. We'll make that happen. Chase is at second base, even though he's not a draft pick by us, he's a gift. But you know, let's get middle infielders.
Yeah. Yeah, if you just started a little earlier, we could have had Abrams instead of Vaughn in that draft. So, all right, better late than never. Just keep getting shortstops. Okay, a couple more things before we wind this podcast up, before my recording fritzes out. If the White Sox continue on the trend of the end of the season where they really sort of blown a tire, let's say they lose at least 4 of 6, if not, just get run out of the league and lose 5 or 6 in this last week, which would contribute to a really second half of September, a really flat end of the season. Does that tarnish what this season's become, where it started out ugly, had this hope, and then what and who are these guys? What in the world is this? Does it tarnish it for you, or are you still going to just cling to the fact that, hey, for a while there, they were playing like a major league team?
I mean, you got a 17+ game improvement from them. So I would call that a
Okay. So no matter what. Now, granted, it would twist a little bit if they lose out. It'd be maybe like a 12 game improvement, but still, it counts. It's definitely, there's no way for it not to be an improvement in the second half. And we stole ahead of Dante on that answer, and it seems like maybe he has left us prematurely. Someone in the Jones household demanded the living room back, and he had to surrender it. We got him for 40 minutes, and we're lucky for that. Okay, so this is going to be really familiar to you, Hannah, but give me your early, way, 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 way premature, because Lord knows they're going to stack up on free agents in the offseason. Way, way, way. Oh, wait, Dante's coming back. He may have a chance. Dante is back, so we're going to give him a chance to answer this question. Does this ruin it for you if they sort of lose out the way they've sort of flat tired the end of the season?
No, they suck already. I don't care. Yeah, I heard the question before I got a 10-second phone call. No, they suck. Like, I will take positivity from it. I saw more wins this season than I saw all of last season easily. Yeah. I think I saw 1 win in person last year. I've seen like 7 or 8.
Man,
I'm
greedy.
Yeah.
So in other words, 1 in 161 is better than 0 in 162.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
I can't complain too much with that.
Man, you are sunny this podcast. Let's have another one like tomorrow. I like this. All right. Optimism.
Well, I didn't have to. Here's the thing. I didn't have to work today, so I'm just saying this is today.
All right. Let me know your next day off. We'll do a podcast. All right. The final real speed question is, and Dante, I'm going to just throw it to you in case you get another call. Really premature, super, super early prediction, knowing they are going to load up on free agents in the offseason, so it's going to get completely blown. Your early prediction of the win total for 2026.
I'm going to be slightly more optimistic. What would it be? It would be 70 wins and 92 losses.
Okay, that would still be a sizable jump, and the jump you need to take if you're getting back to some sort of relevance. So,
yep.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Hannah, are you sunnier than that?
No.
Okay. She worked today, so sorry, Dante.
I think an 11 or 12 game improvement, whatever it comes out to be, is fair.
Okay. All right. Well, theoretically, that's going to pretty much hit right around what Dante was saying, because I think, well, I mean, I guess this team isn't a lock for 60. But even 10 or 11 would get you to, 68, 69. Pretty close. as in the Phantom podcast, I was more skeptical. I still do need to see more. I'm still thinking a little bit more mid 60s for next year because there do still seem to be gaps. As much as I was proven foolish for thinking this would be back-to-back 120 loss seasons, admit it, I was an idiot. I still don't necessarily see that this year is in some sort of weird swing toward, the gods just wanting to be kind to the South Side for a season because they know how much we've suffered. It could easily bounce back, even with Will Venable talking things up and not having Pedro Grifol, troll under the bridge or whatever. So I'm not necessarily sold. I mean, I want to believe the momentum, and I do think that this flat tire at the end of the season is affecting me a little bit more as going into the next season because they just win out. If they have a winning September, which it seems like they're not going to now, 9-10, so I don't think they're going to quite get there. That's the kind of weird stuff. I know that's fumes, but that's the kind of weird stuff that makes you think, you know what? Hey, this division's open next year. Let's just go take it. And maybe it even encourages you. I know these aren't the ways you're supposed to make. And boy, Ozzy and Chuck and none of the insiders say that this is a good move, but it might even actually encourage you to, maybe buy that one more player, maybe make that one more trade. That's the direction you want to go. You actually want to be relevant, not just, 70 wins. We're happy for this season. 80 wins the next year? Wow, we're really on our way. Because then you have a labor impasse. And boy, we're going to have a lot of fun podcasts during 2027, aren't we? Okay, I'm going to let Hannah roll. Dante, I'm sure you got some calls coming in. Sorry, you're having to put everybody off because they are in demand. They know you're on a podcast, so it's like, man, I got to talk to Dante. But let's wrap this up. We may have another podcast in just a matter of days, celebrating in italics or quotes or bold or underlined, celebrating 100 losses. We'll probably do something to wrap up the season as well. And then, of course, in the off season, it might not be a full-on Soxivus, but I'm sure we'll do some sort of goofy stuff, or at least, I don't know, once a month or something. Dante, thank you for fighting through any technical difficulties and joining us. And Hannah, thanks for taking the time. And we got you in right under the wire. Thanks, everybody, listening, watching, etc. Without you out there, there's no point for us doing this. And I'm sure you feel very, very special that we're taking time out to speak to all of you about the fate of the White Sox 2025, 2026, and beyond. Thanks, Dante. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, everybody out there watching, reading, etc. And we'll be back at you surely sooner than you're ready to see us again.